following announcement has been paid for by the New World Order.
Okay, this is our next episode of True Wrestling Fans Discussions. We are going to go over the NWO Wolfpac in 1998. I'm your host, Mike.
And I'm Frank, and let's get right into this. If you guys watched our last episode, get back the dry erase boards because we're about to expand this boy. So it's funny because in 1998, they actually started with dissension among the NWO.
Mm-hmm.
So, which I had thought that maybe it had hit its climax. It was time. Maybe they let it go. Nope. So it was actually the whole controversy had started January 8th, 1998, due to the controversy surrounding Sting's title win. J.J. Dillon vacated the title, which they were known for in WCW, on the inaugural episode of Thunder. What a way to start off your show. You take the title off a guy 15 months in the making. So, and further to his announcement, Scott Hall would face whomever the champion was, as per him winning the 60-man Battle Royal of World War III. So he still had that coming to him, but it wasn't going to be right away.
Right.
So, and then Roddy Piper was now named the new WCW commissioner and stated at Sold Out, Hogan would face Sting and Hall. Would face Sting, and Hall would face the winner at Uncensored. So, I mean, if we're redoing this, but at this point, we're already, the Band-Aid's on the broken bone. I mean, you're trying to rectify something that you guys pretty much ruined. Unfortunately, I don't know. So, in any event, the next member to the NWO was then Dusty Rhodes. Why?
It was funny. I completely forgot Dusty Rhodes was part of the NWO until maybe like a couple years ago. I forgot what I was watching. It might have been a documentary.
Maybe his documentary after his passing?
No, it wasn't. It wasn't his doc. I was watching something, and then I was like, "Oh yeah, that's right." Dusty Rhodes.
Honestly, I had forgotten about it too until I watched one of the pay-per-views from back then.
I didn't even remember. I don't know.
He did it when he attacked Zbyszko with the help of Scott Hall and newcomer Louis Spicoli. Radford.
Was that when Disco Inferno kind of was like an honorary member? He was like the mascot of the NWO. He was hanging around with Hall and Nash. He was kind of in it, but he wasn't really in it.
He was trying to. Actually, I think that was more Wolfpack than it was this. I think he was trying to get into there.
He was trying to get into the Wolfpack, yeah.
But, I mean, this was also when Scott Hall was having the feud with Larry Zbyszko. He actually beat Hall by disqualification.
You know what's funny? I actually thought that Scott, and I never really looked this up. I felt like Scott Hall and Larry Zbyszko had real heat. I always got the feeling that was like legitimate heat between the two of them.
Right? It came off.
It came off like it was real. Like it was like I don't think these guys really like each other. But I never really looked into it. I don't know if they really like each other or not.
Anybody likes Zbyszko.
Either way, the living legend. I don't know who called him a legend other than himself. I don't know.
What did he do to ever refer to himself as the living legend? What did he ever accomplish in the ring?
I don't know. No idea.
Because even in his first WWE run in the late 70s, he did nothing. Maybe tag champion, I think that was about it. But over his career, anywhere he's gone, I mean, to call yourself the living legend, that's a pretty big bar.
I was just rooting for Scott Hall to beat him up. And
of course we were.
I know he had legitimate heat with Jericho for years. He had legitimate heat with Jericho.
Zbyszko did?
Yeah. And he had heat with Bret Hart. But anyway.
Well, he was also the guy that sat in the production room when they said we got Bret Hart, and he was the only one going, should we be worried?
Right, yeah. I don't know. He seems like a malcontent. I don't know.
A little bit. In any event. Following that, the next to join was Bryan Adams. Now we're getting to the bottom of the barrel. Hogan gained a second bodyguard shortly after Bryan Adams when Ed Leslie joined the group, a.k.a. I'll be here for 20 minutes. The Disciple. Brutus Beefcake. I'll leave it at that because the man's got too many gimmicks.
So was this when the NWO, they showed up at the arena in separate limousines?
Yes.
They were kind of like looking at each other, and it was like, there seems to be something going on.
It looked like there was a rift between them. Yeah. All the limos pull out. This is where Big Show said that 6 limos pull up and 35 guys get out.
Right.
But it was certain guys with certain guys.
Right, yeah.
So, yeah, you could tell, even when they were in the ring together and they would fill up the entire thing, you could tell that shit was going down.
Well, now you know Nash and Hogan, and we'll get into Wolfpack in a little bit.
Mhm.
Nash and Hogan had legitimate heat. They had a lot of heat. That's why they had to split them up eventually, because they had heat together.
Well,
Two
what's
big
coming up
egos.
here in a few minutes was also a big thing that had to do with it with Six, because Nash felt like this was his clique. These were his boys, and Hogan played politics with him, and he didn't like that.
Yeah.
I got to agree with him.
Mhm.
You know, they brought Hogan into their project, and let's see how fast he took it over. Typical. So anyway, at Super Brawl 8, the Outsiders regained the tag titles from the Steiners, and this is after Scott Steiner turned on Rick. If you remember, they did that famous Rick crawls underneath Scott as they're looking at, and then he just, boom, hits him. And I knew it was going to happen. It just something watching that pay-per-view was just like, Scott's got a new look to him. He cut his hair.
Yeah.
He's taking more steroids. He's got the goatee going.
Allegedly.
Sorry. Allegedly. I'm like, he reminded me with the Rockers when Shawn Michaels started having that new look, new attitude.
Well, he jacked Billy superstar Billy Graham's look pretty much.
Yes, a little bit, yeah. With the exception of he didn't wear the tie-dye, thank God. Only one guy looked good in tie-dye.
Yeah. But to his credit, he reinvented himself. He was like a total different character.
Yes, he was.
And it worked.
Freakzilla.
Yep.
I loved it.
Yeah.
That latter end of WCW, I just loved that character.
He was the only one that was worth watching towards the end. Because he would just get on the mic and just say whatever the hell he wanted to say.
Even though some of the stuff he said, his math was something to be desired, like Sid's was, because remember when Sid, I'm 90% half the man you are.
I'm half. Yeah.
Scott Steiner did something similar, and I'm like, you guys reading cue cards or anything?
Yeah.
I mean, on the mic, he was good if he just went for a free shot. If he just went free, and especially when he cursed you out.
Yeah.
It was funny.
Oh man.
So he attacks his brother Rick and manager Ted DiBiase. Scott Steiner handed the titles to Hall and Nash, and then celebrated with them. And then and Dusty Rhodes, and Steiner was now the newest member to the NWO. So now at least they got somebody credible other than Brian Adams and all of them. Right. Scott Steiner could bring something to the table. So, and in any event, Hogan loses to Sting for the vacated title and was attacked by Savage later in the match. And Savage stated he no longer needed the help of the NWO, and Hogan dropped the ball, and he was going after Sting to bring back the title to the NWO. Yeah. And this is where you can see the split was going to start. Only it wasn't going to be Savage running it. So, and then this led to Hogan versus Savage in a steel cage match at Uncensored, which ended in a no contest.
Yeah, and it wasn't really that good of a match.
It wasn't a good match, no. Those two guys have put on some of the best matches in history.
I know.
In both factions, but this one was just garbage. So, and earlier in the evening, Scott Hall lost his WCW title match to Sting, which I was glad to see that he got pushed.
At least he got a shot.
Yeah. He got a shot at it, yeah. He wins that battle royal, which I didn't think he was going to. But, they at least gave him his opportunity. Me personally, I think that was probably one of the provisions in his contract. He had to have at least one shot. Okay, here you go. In any event. So Six, who was out injured since October 97 at this point now, was released. He was sent to rehab for his ongoing battle with alcohol. They said they fired him legitimately. He was fired by FedEx. I'll go with that story. I'm sorry. Because Bischoff was known for that.
So he was injured. He was trying to get healthy, but then he was also having his own problems. And supposedly, I don't know if he showed up drunk somewhere or something like that. Something happened, right? I don't know.
I think it was at a house show. It wasn't televised.
Yeah,
something. It wasn't like Scott Hall was doing.
Right. And then the other story is that it was just basically they wanted to put Scott Hall and Kevin Nash in line because they felt like these guys were getting out of control. And they thought that they ran things, so they kind of wanted to Bischoff wanted to let him know that you're not in charge.
Yeah, because this also led to Hall being removed from TV, and this led to a confrontation between Nash, Bischoff, and Hogan on March 26th. No, this was on Nitro.
Oh, but I know something happened backstage.
Yeah, they had an altercation back there, which escalated to the ring, and 4 days later, Sean Waltman showed up in WWE. But this was the segment where Hulk Hogan said that little man couldn't cut the mustard.
Cut the mustard.
And if you notice, there were like 3 or 4 guys between him and Nash. because Nash was legitimately pissed off at this move.
He was supposedly. I think they cornered. I think it was Hall and Nash that cornered Bischoff.
Yeah,
backstage.
Mm-hmm.
And it looked like something.
They didn't even fire him respectfully. So Bischoff says that, we did the right thing. We brought him in. No, you fired him like you did Steve Austin by FedEx. You tried calling him. There was no message. You left a message. He didn't get back to you, so you sent the FedEx to his house. I mean, that's just ridiculous. And
not for nothing, I was never a big Sean Waltman fan, but I did like X-Pac. Six Pac. In the NWO, I thought his character it worked, and I loved his matches with the cruiserweights, man, with Jericho and all those guys. They put on some great matches.
His promo the night after WrestleMania when he came out, it was legit and heartfelt, and I liked it because this was not scripted. They let him run with it.
Yeah, and he said that say whatever you want to say.
He said that if Hall and Nash would be here right now with me if they weren't being held hostage.
Right.
And, Bischoff's got his nose so far up Hogan's ass, he knows what he had for breakfast. So, and then that led to Bischoff coming out the next week, fight me.
Yeah.
That's the best you got? Mm. I mean, we're doing this inter-promotional bantering back and forth. That's the best you got?
I guess he didn't want to give him any
fuel to the fire?
No, not even that. Give him any credit, basically but you're not even me worth really responding to. But I do remember thinking being disappointed that Six Pac left because I did he was over too. Remember he had the t-shirts?
Yeah.
With the 6 ball?
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh, I love that shirt.
Mm-hmm.
It's actually one of the popular ones now. I can't find it anywhere.
Yeah, I know. I sold out.
I even love the episode where he came out in the big monster truck. Got a big old standing ovation. I mean, he fought guys like Ric Flair and went toe to toe with them. He was good in the ring, and
no, he was. He's actually a really good wrestler. He's actually a really good wrestler.
And this is actually funny because recently the Hall of Fame induction, the NWO was put in, and I'm standing there watching Hall, Nash, Hogan, and Waltman is standing there, and I'm like, okay, I don't ever remember you saying that you buried the hatchet with him. What is stopping you from cold cocking him right now?
I guess he doesn't care.
Unless he's just said, you know what, too many years have gone by.
It's a long time. It's a long time.
Because I just noticed that, first of all, if the NWO is going in, unless you're going to put 35 guys out there, then only the 3 of them should be out there. If anything, Bischoff. I was surprised that Waltman was there.
And he got in with DX too, right? Didn't he?
Yeah, he's a 2-time Hall of Famer, which he better be thankful that he was part of those groups, because honestly, not knocking the guy's career, there's no way he was Hall of Fame worthy on an individual level.
Well, I mean, let's be honest, everybody goes into the Hall of Fame, so.
Unfortunately, yes. And there are some guys that I agree do not belong there.
Yeah,
I'm not gonna go through them because some of them are deceased, and I won't talk ill of the dead. So he just better be thankful that he's in with these 2 factions, because I don't think he can get in single.
Yeah.
In any event. So now this is real heat between Hogan and Nash, and so the tensions rise when Savage and Nash realized Hogan was only looking out for himself and the NWO was second. And I'm thinking, watching this, because I remember them saying, you have a different agenda than we do. I'm like, you guys are just seeing that? I mean, hell, I saw that at Road 1996 when he took the title off the Giant. Why weren't you one of you guys in that match? I mean, of course, him having the belt was always primary and they were second. Didn't take a genius or a writing staff to figure that one out. In any event, Nash sided with Savage after Hogan interfered in a handful of Sting versus Nash matches, not wanting to face Nash to get his title back. Nash supported Savage but agreed to team with Hogan against Piper and the Giant in a baseball bat on a pole match. Remember that one? At Spring Stampede, in which they won. That was a little weird, but we kind of got a little hardcore.
Yeah.
But anything was on a pole match back then. How's Judy Bagwell doing?
Yeah, that was a lot of bad stuff was to come.
Wasn't there Viagra on a pole match too?
There was. I wasn't watching at that point though.
Mark Madden was the one. He was the only time I liked listening to his commentary. He goes, "Well, once they get it up, they got to keep it up." And I'm like, dude, just stop talking, please. It's funny, but just stop talking. So in any event, After the match, Hogan attacked Nash. Later on, Nash helped Savage beat Sting to win the title. And I think that was one of the last times Randy had the belt, unfortunately. Hogan told Savage he had his title, and that with the help of the disciple, he would get it back. Okay, this is where it started getting a little like crazy between the two of them. I mean, the storylines were just all over the place. Next night on Nitro, Hogan challenged Savage, and Piper granted it with 2 stipulations. 1, there was no run-ins, and 2, no disqualification. Well, that's not a Nitro main event, then. I'm sorry. You got to make every Nitro main event that stipulation. So Nash later on in the show told Hogan he had have a nice life, implying that the NWO would no longer be together, and at least not in its current form. So, and I remember that Nitro when that happened, because then I was like, okay, where are we going with this? So, while the referee was down during the match, Nash and Bischoff got involved, as well as the disciple. Nash put Savage on top of Hogan when Brett entered the ring, and struck Nash with the belt, rolled Hogan onto Savage, and if you remember, that's where Brett had turned heel.
Yes, Brett turns heel, and he doesn't join the NWO, but he's their recruiter.
That didn't make any sense to me. He's trying to save face, but he's already being booed by everybody. So why not join? I think it was because he still hated Hogan, in my opinion. But then again, why not join the other one?
Why not? Yeah.
But anyway, maybe he just didn't want to be part of it. I don't know. Brett's complicated.
No, WCW.
Well, they're all complicated.
Didn't know what to do with Brett. We'll get into that when we do Brett's episode.
Exactly. Despite Hogan being champ, the NWO members were not going to have to choose whose side they were on. They had to decide whether they wanted to be with Hogan or would be with Nash.
Mm-hmm.
So that led to May 4th's episode of Nitro. Nash, Savage, and Conan appeared in their red and black.
Yep.
So this started the Wolfpack, which now between the two, I really loved the red and black.
Bro, the Wolfpack. Listen, I love the Wolfpack. Some people say that it wasn't that good.
The theme was awesome. The group was
man. They had the best guys on the mic.
Mm-hmm.
They had the best guys on the mic.
Conan, Nash, Savage, Conan especially with he was great on the microphone.
No, he was. Remember, he's like the NWO will be talking about there for life, but something about Wolfpack,
Rowdy.
Yeah. Oh, you know what's funny about Conan? Conan's Cuban. He's not Mexican, and he played a Mexican like his entire career. He wrestled in Mexico. Yeah. He's Cuban.
And when he first came up with WCW, he adapted the Lucha Libre where he had the mask on.
Yeah. And I think he was mad. Was he? No, Max Moon for like 2 seconds in WWE. He had the mask.
Oh God, yeah.
You know, he's the one who taught Bret Hart the sharpshooter.
Really? That I did not know.
Yeah, he needed to learn a finishing maneuver when he was going singles, and he was like, I think somebody had told him about the sharpshooter, and nobody in the locker room knew how to do it. And Conan says, "Oh, I know how to do it. I'll show you." And he showed him the sharpshooter.
I know when he was there in WWE, he was the Royal Rumble. And then a few Monday Night Raws.
Yeah, Max Moon.
Yeah, because I remember he fought Shawn Michaels for the Intercontinental title on Monday Night Raw, and he was there literally for a cup of coffee. That gimmick just was never going to make it.
They said that suit cost a lot of money to make too. That was very expensive. That suit they made him, and then they gave it. Seriously, and then they gave it to somebody else because there was another Max Moon. He wasn't the only one. There was somebody else that played.
Max Mini. Just bringing him in as Conan would have worked, but in any event, you can actually tell now that if anybody doesn't know this, go back and look at the Rumble when you see him come out. Now, if you look at his face, you can tell.
Yeah, you can tell it's him. But he was great. He was. Yeah.
A lot of the masked wrestlers back then, you couldn't tell who they were. Like nobody really knew Aldo Montoya was just incredible.
Yes.
So I mean,
he became the Portuguese Man of War.
Man of War.
I don't want to get too off topic. You know how he became the Portuguese Man of War? The Vince McMahon found out that he was Portuguese and he could speak Portuguese. He's like, this guy can speak Portuguese. We got.
What's that going to do for you?
I have no idea. Anyway, so funny little side story about the Wolfpack. So I love the Wolfpack. Me, my friend Peter and his brother Manny, we were collectively the Wolfpack. We used to call ourselves the Wolfpack, and people knew us on our block as the Wolfpack. That was the name of our clique. Yeah,
classic.
Side story.
Weren't we the NWO?
We were. Yeah, we were. Oh, well, I was DX. Remember, I was. It was.
I think we were both.
We were no. I think then we had factions. Remember?
Oh yeah, we did a split off or something.
We did a split off. I think you became NWO with Mike, maybe a couple other. Because I know DX was me, Dave, Henry, and Chris. That was DX.
I think it was me, Mike, Jay.
Yeah.
And Matt, maybe I don't even remember.
Probably NWO and then PIU. Remember PIU?
I was just gonna say, Christine, Nicole, and them had Push It Up, which was classic.
Oh God.
Every time her birthday rolls around, I send that to her.
Yeah, PIU. Yep.
So I gotta tag her in this episode. She's gonna love that. Those were memories back then. We weren't working. We were cutting our own promos.
Right. Exactly.
That's how popular wrestling was back then. We were cutting our own promos at work.
Exactly.
No, don't let them all know. We can let them all know that.
Yeah, it doesn't matter. Statute of limitations.
Anyway, so now the Wolfpack, in the following weeks now, they were joined by Kurt Hennig, Miss Elizabeth, Rick Rude, who we never mentioned in the last episode.
That's right, when he showed up.
The 2 nights, unfortunately, and I kicked myself because again, we said we were going to miss certain things, but that was an important thing. So I can't believe what a difference a day makes.
With Bret Hart and all that.
Yep. So now Rick Rude was part of the Wolfpack, and so was Dusty Rhodes, which those 2 guys weren't even wrestling. So I'm like, why are you here? Just like when Shawn Michaels said when Rick Rude left, we're like, I don't even know what he was doing here.
He said he didn't know how he said that he didn't know
how he got there.
Right.
It's like one week you got China Hunter, and then all of a sudden next week he's there holding the briefcase. The insurance policy.
The insurance policy. He had the briefcase.
Shawn was known for those. If he didn't have an insurance policy, he wouldn't drop the belt for you. He lost the smile.
He said, again, I don't want to get too sidetracked, but the whole thing about Shawn having a bodyguard when he hired Diesel.
Yeah.
He said Diesel figured out very quickly that it was a shoot. Like, he legitimately was his bodyguard because everyone hated Shawn and wanted to kick his ass. And so he was legitimately his bodyguard. No.
Well, he kept running his mouth. Of course he's going to need the big guy.
And it caught up to him that night in Syracuse.
Yes, it did.
When Nash wasn't there. But anyway.
Exactly. Another day.
Yeah.
So now Hogan's side retained the black and white, and they were called NWO Hollywood.
That's right.
Oh, boy. But, it included Bischoff, Vincent, Scott Steiner, Scott Norton, Brian Adams, and the Disciple.
Yeah. So the reason why they split up, though, Bischoff said there was just too many members of the NWO. Agreed. So he said that we have to split them up. But then the other story is that Hogan and Nash had so much heat that they had to split them up. So it's probably
I think both are true.
It's probably both. Yeah.
I could see them having to do both, considering Hogan and Nash, and then also the fact that he's right. You have too many members. You have 30, like Big Show said repeatedly. We said 35 guys coming out of 6 limos. I mean, it just. But again, you did that to yourself. You put too many guys in there.
Yeah.
So, and then again, like we said before, Bret Hart was the official recruiter, although he was never in, and I don't understand that. It could be poor storyline writing, or it could be Bret. There's no telling. So the Outsiders were to defend the tag titles at Slamboree, if you remember, in May against the Sting and the Giant.
Yep.
Now the Giant joined NWO Hollywood.
Right.
At this point, this is where I say if you got your dry erase boards out there, now you got to cross off some names and stuff.
And that was back. This is when he rejoins the NWO.
This is the second time.
Right. So this was okay. So the first time was when he challenged Hogan. Right. He wanted a title shot. That's what it was. Or the second time he got thrown out. Remember, he wanted the title shot, and he's like, "I want a title shot." And he's like, and he grabs Hogan, and he's like, "Okay."
That's when I think, isn't that when he joined because he attacked the Dungeon of Doom and the Four Horsemen? Isn't that the? Oh no, that was a run.
He was NWO. He was NWO, and he wanted his title shot against Hogan because he just felt like, I want a title shot, and then he's like, "Okay, brother, man." All you had to do was ask. Man.
I think it was right after he joined here.
And then he says, "Get him!" And then everybody jumps him.
I think this is when he gets thrown out of NWO Hollywood. That happened.
He's gotten thrown out so many damn times.
I'm telling you, this is the second of 3 times he's entering the NWO, and then he didn't get the message.
Either way, that was really funny when that happened.
It was Big Show. You got one thing about the Giant and Big Show. I did too.
Yeah.
But the one thing about him is he may have done some of the dumbest things known to wrestling, but he was one of the most entertaining guys there were. Whether he in WWE, and I don't want to get sidetracked again, but whether it was WWE where he was dressing in a diaper, or coming out as the showster, or dreaming about cheeseburgers, or anything to that nature, it was always he was very comical and very entertaining and very well talented in the ring.
No, but even in WCW, he was in great shape. That's before he gained all that weight.
Yeah,
he's very
he was.
agile for his size. He could do a moonsault. They showed him before he could do a moonsault earlier when he was young.
He was able to do a drop kick off the top rope.
Yeah.
And Sid should have listened to him or took some advice from him.
Yeah.
But I mean, thank God they never went with the original gimmick of I'm Andre's son. They had him look like him, but they never went with that.
No, they did. Remember he threw the shirt? Yeah, he threw the shirt at Hogan.
They threw the shirt, but they never went with anywhere.
They did. They said he was. They said he was Andre's son. You don't remember that? My father. He said that he was Andre's son. And then
1995 was not a year that.
And then they just pretend it never happened.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
1995 wasn't exactly a good year for them. Actually, it wasn't a good year in wrestling. Period.
No,
unfortunately. So I was kind of straight away from him, especially when I saw him come out as that. I'm like, oh God, no! I see where they're going with this. So, but he was very talented on the mic, off the mic, in the ring. They made him do some of the cheesiest stuff known to man. In any event. Because he had joined NWO Hollywood prior to Slamboree, as retribution to Nash injuring him in January, it sold out. You remember he almost paralyzed him.
When he dropped
on his head. Yeah.
So this is the story with that. So he had gained a few pounds because he had been Nash jackknifed him before, maybe a year or two earlier, whenever it was earlier. But since then he gained a lot of weight, and he told Big Show, listen, or the Giants, I can't. You weigh too much. I can't even get my arms around your belly to do it. And he's like, no, you can do it. So he did it. And he said that he got him up and that he was just too heavy. And he was like, he's like, it was either him or me. He's like, and I'm a selfish son of a bitch. And he dropped him.
Yes, he is.
He dropped him on his head.
Yeah, he almost hurt him.
Paralyzed him. It was bad. It was bad. And then, it's funny. Little side story. My friend Peter, he jackknifed his brother Manny on his by accident. The same exact thing happened on the bed. And he was hurt. He didn't move for a second, and he's like, "Oh my God, I killed Manny!" And then you just hear Manny groan like, "Ugh!" And he was alive. And Manny, he called it the butter knife from that the messed up jackknife. He called it the butter knife. Yeah,
nice.
And so he dropped him on his head. But I did like when he was calling him Big Sexy the Giant Killer. Remember, he was calling himself Big Sexy the Giant. He was showing the clip. Yep. He's like, "I dropped you on your noodle" or something like that.
Yeah, and they actually, for a short time, they had banned the jackknife.
They banned the jackknife. Remember, he had the neck brace? He had the neck.
Yeah. Then I remember when he ripped it off, too.
Right. Yeah.
Oh. But, yeah, that was funny. But the Giant kept his alliance with Sting for the match, but told Sting he better decide his allegiance at the end of the match. If you remember, that's the same pay-per-view, a match that we thought we might get, but we didn't. Remember, it was a couple weeks prior to that, Eric Bischoff was doing the vignettes where he was challenging Vince McMahon to show up at Slamboree.
He was shadow boxing and throwing the kicks.
He's like, just show up, Vince.
Yeah.
And Hulk Hogan told him, dude, don't do that. He will show up.
Yeah, you better be careful. He might actually show up, and he's going to be real angry, and he's going to fight you.
And they interviewed Vince later on, and Vince says that he saw the promo, but he was never going to acknowledge it.
Right. Well, he didn't want to imagine, if he would have showed up, that would have been crazy.
The ratings would have gone through the roof.
Yeah, and Bischoff said he had a locker room set aside for Vince just in case he showed up, and he said that he didn't have any security for himself. He said the only one that he told was Paul White, the Giant. He was like, listen, just have my back in case anything. He said, and don't stop the fight. He's like, what? It was going to be a shoot. This is Bishop. I don't know if Bishop's telling the truth or not. He said he was going to fight him in a shoot, and he's like, whatever happened. He said that he knew martial arts. He said even though he was really outweighed by Vince, but that he was ready for whatever was going to happen. And he said, he said if I'm in serious trouble, he told the Big Show, grab Vince. Yeah. So
you don't. If Vince McMahon would have showed up, do you honestly think he would have showed up alone?
No, but I guess that's also why he had the Big Show with him, just in case.
I think he would have. This is in 1998. I would have shown up with Shamrock and Austin. Austin mainly because he's your biggest guy, and Shamrock because he's a UFC fighter.
Yeah.
You know, if stuff's gonna go down, this will be the guy to bring.
They said when they had the not to get too sidetracked too, when DX did that little invasion thing,
I loved it.
They were saying that everyone was waiting for Meng versus Ken Shamrock in the Ultimate Death match.
That would have been a good one.
Yeah, because Meng is legit. He's a legit So they were saying that was the Ultimate Death match that everyone was waiting for.
I love that night where X-Pac is knocking on the door asking for Bischoff, and on the other side of this, Luger's got the chain in his hand with Kevin Nash standing next to him going, do we open this? And Bischoff's like, no.
Yeah, I don't know, man. I've heard so many different versions of that story.
Just like Vince said that if they would have come to their arena that night, he would have let them in
because of the ratings. For the ratings, yeah.
Which I was wondering if, since Bischoff had already challenged Vince at this point, and this the DX invasion was during the summer. Since you already challenged Vince and you took that first step, why not open up the door and have this invasion and watch your attendance, your ratings just go through the roof?
Yeah, but Bischoff said that by the time he found out and he got over there, they were gone already. So I don't know what the true story is. Maybe, I don't know.
According to Nash and Luger, Bischoff was not but 30 yards away from them when they said, should we open it? He said, absolutely not.
I don't know.
Again, I think, I don't know what to believe. I would lean more towards Nash and Luger saying that, asking him, should we do this? Because they were ready to open the door. And he said, do not do it.
Yeah.
Especially, I guess, when X-Pac was there going, I just want to talk to you, Eric.
Right.
It would have been classic, though. In any event, Vince doesn't show up. Bischoff claims to get the victory by way of no-show forfeit.
Like Jericho, when Jericho was feuding with Goldberg.
But see, I again, not to get sidetracked on that either, I like that about Jericho because that also shows you, number one, Bischoff never knew what was going on in his company.
No, he didn't.
Because Jericho was doing this for a matter of a couple of months before he realized that he's trying to push himself to the main event status with Goldberg, and he wasn't going to have it.
Yeah, yeah.
Because he asked him, hey, can I get on the mic tonight for 10 minutes? Don't go over it. Just be quick. Okay, you're not even going to ask me what I'm doing? Hey, fine, no problem. So all of those skits that he did on Goldberg with the no-shows and Jericho 2, Goldberg 0, and he's got Ralphus with him. I mean, just that whole thing was just great to try to boost Jericho, and kudos to him for taking the initiative to try to better himself in a division for a company that you're not going to get pushed in.
Right. Yeah.
So, and again, that just shows you that Bischoff doesn't even know what's going on. But I did like that, and when Goldberg finally got a hold of him, it was a different story.
Yeah.
So, but according to Goldberg, he said, I really couldn't see myself getting in the ring with a cruiserweight. It was a step down. Well, how'd that go back in 2003 then?
Yep.
So, in any event. So now, Hall shows up at the event at Slamboree wearing the red and black, but during the match, attacked Dusty Rhodes. Oh, I'm sorry, no. Along with Dusty Rhodes, he turned on Nash. If you remember, Hall and Nash were broken up. He hit him with the title belt, giving Sting and the Giant the win. And the next night on Nitro, Scott Hall was the newest member of NWO Hollywood. This was a shock to me because I always saw these two sticking together.
Yeah, man. It just felt natural that he was Wolfpack. I was a little disappointed. I was disappointed. I remember I was upset. I was like, oh man, Scott Hall's not part of Wolfpack. I always wanted him to be part of the Wolfpack.
So yeah, this was a kind of a blow. And then on May 25th on Nitro, the Wolfpack added Lex Luger, and he urged Sting to join them. Now, by this point, I'm like, okay, they're adding guys that would have never been part of NWO prior to this.
Had Rude left yet? Rude and Perfect? Rude and Henning, I should say. They already left. They betrayed them, right?
Yeah. If not, I believe it's coming up here. So, and now on the next week, Sting fooled Hogan into believing he joined him. And I remember watching this one because I was like, wait a minute. All this stuff we just went through over the last 2 years, and now you're going to join this man? I'm like, what, are you kidding me?
I thought it was cool that Sting joined the Wolfpack because I like Sting, and the Wolfpack was over. The Wolfpack was really over, too. If you listen to those, you're watching those Nitros, the fans, they went crazy for them. They were super over. But at the same time, I felt like, Sting probably should just stay WCW. Because his whole thing was
Yeah.
he was WCW. He was never gonna join.
He did look good in the red and
with
black.
the red and black.
Though,
Yeah, no, he looked cool. He looked
with
cool.
the long hair. It was cool.
Oh, it was a good.
And that was the night he fooled Hogan and joined the Wolfpack.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. And I love Macho Man in there. Remember he was the Madness.
Yes.
That's what he was crazy. He was just like a loose cannon.
He was already nuts.
Yeah. It fit.
Yes. Here's what you had just brought up about Kerning and Rude.
Okay.
At the Great American Bash, the Wolfpack had lost Kurt Hennig and Rick Rude. They turned on Conan and joined NWO Hollywood.
Mm-hmm.
So now this is where, again, I say you need the dry erase board because now you got to go, wait, hold on. Let me take them out of this group. I got to put them over here. Because I tried to do that on a piece of paper and it was madness. And they said it wasn't a total loss. Sting defeated the Giant for control over the vacated tag titles. And the next night on Nitro, Sting chose Nash as his partner and they were the tag team champions.
Mm-hmm.
Since Sting was told you got to choose your allegiance, okay, I'm Wolfpack, give me my tag belts. So, and now Miss Elizabeth was the next to leave the Wolfpack and joined NWO Hollywood. It was during a shocking promo, which included an on-screen kiss with Bischoff. I don't know if you remember that.
Yeah, I do remember. That was kind of weird.
It was. I think it was I think they were kind of trying to do the whole Ric Flair thing again, just with Bischoff this time.
And I kind of feel like I remember a Miss NWO contest where Eric Bischoff kissed some girl. I think it was sold out.
That was right before the Nitro Girls, I believe, came around. They started that. And then they just went to the direction of the Nitro Girls.
I think it was sold out, I think. I don't remember. Anyway.
Again, their pay-per-views were Nitro, and their Nitros were pay-per-views. Yeah. So it doesn't surprise me that he did something dumb on a pay-per-view.
Mm-hmm. No.
The man, as brilliant as he was, all he had to do was focus on the revenue, and he'd probably be in business today.
Yeah.
Of course, it would also be Hogan versus Flair next month, though. So Miss Elizabeth moving over was on June 8th on Nitro, if anybody's keeping track. Now on June 15th, Savage faced Page in a steel cage match with Piper as a special guest referee. All three were attacked by NWO Hollywood. And at the end of the match, at the end of the match, the results resulted in a knee injury for Savage. This is what prompted him to be out.
Yeah, man.
K-fob or not, I don't know.
No, I think it was legit. It was a real injury. It was a real injury. And I remember being like, oh, man, because I really liked the Madness. I liked them in Wolfpack. They had a good crew.
He actually he took a hiatus to recover from two major knee problems that he had.
Yeah, he was the shoulder. I think his shoulder was a little messed up too.
Yeah, and unfortunately, this was his final appearance in the Wolfpack.
Yes,
he wasn't back on TV until later, December 28th on Nitro.
Mm-hmm.
By that point, I think he came back with, I think it was Gorgeous George.
It was with Gorgeous George, yeah.
And I like that look with him with the shirt and the slick back, the hair and the ponytail.
Yeah, he was jacked up. He was jacked up too.
I think he was trying to look like his like Bonesaw from Spider-Man.
Yeah.
I think it was his alter ego.
Yeah.
So now a new contender emerged shortly after this for Hulk Hogan, and if you remember, it was Goldberg.
Yep.
Now,
Goldberg.
I never agree with this, and we've talked about this on so many times. We've talked about this. On July 2nd, 1998, on Thunder, J.J. Dillon came out and announced that there was a new number one contender for Hulk Hogan's title. That on July 6th, episode of Nitro, Hogan would be defending the title against Goldberg at the Georgia Dome. They've said this repeatedly. I totally agree with it. If they would have waited for the pay-per-view, they could have put 100,000 people in the Georgia Dome, and the buy rate on this would have just been record-breaking.
Yeah, because
of how big the match is.
When Goldberg was super over at that point.
Yes.
You know?
So again, like I've been saying, they treat Nitro like the pay-per-view, and they do this on Nitro. And because at this point, it's still all about the ratings. And by this point, Raw and Nitro are now going back and forth. They're no longer, the 84 weeks is over. So this was for Bischoff to solidify his ratings war again, where he shouldn't have been focused on it at all.
Right.
So now, if you remember, Goldberg had to go through the typical NWO nonsense where he had to face Scott Hall that night before he got in the ring with Hogan. So he takes out Scott Hall, no problem.
Yeah, just to get to Hogan, yeah.
Well, yeah, and then I remember I've never seen Bobby Heenan celebrate so much commentating when he speared Hogan and he goes, "Okay, that's one. Number two, you got to get him up. You got to get him up." And when he jackhammered him and got the win, 40,000 people in the Georgia Dome went ape shit. And again, this was a WrestleMania type feel or Starrcade type feel for them. They just blew a golden opportunity. And if you notice, they never did the rematch between the two. Never. Not on Nitro, not on pay-per-view. Goldberg had second-rate challengers from there on out if he defended it on a pay-per-view. I believe once was Kurt Hennig. I really believe they could have capitalized on Hogan facing him again.
They could have.
Maybe he didn't want to lose to him again. I don't know. Maybe that was the case. But they just blew the golden opportunity. This was strike one. This was the coffin was built at Starrcade. This is nail number one.
Yep.
And I really think they dropped the ball with it. So from there on out, after that, Hogan then he focused on his next 2 months with celebrity matches.
Yeah.
At Bash at the Beach, which was actually the better one of the two. Hogan and Dennis Rodman versus DDP and Karl Malone. That was the better of the two.
Yeah, no, it was because those guys are real athletes, you know.
Malone did pretty good in the ring, especially when he did the Diamond Cutter. He did it pretty well.
He was in great shape too.
Yeah, and at Road Wild, it was now Hogan and Bischoff versus DDP and Jay Leno.
I thought that was stupid.
It was because Leno didn't know what he was doing.
Oh. And it was kind of like, I mean, think about it. Remember when he had Hogan in an armbar?
Yeah.
That should never happen.
No.
Like Hogan's like, I'm like, what are you doing?
You're really selling something that's really a joke.
It looked ridiculous. I mean, the thing of the Tonight Show when they took
over
that was cool. When they took over the Tonight Show, and I mean, it was not free publicity, but it was publicity for WCW. So it was smart in a way, but I just didn't care for Jay Leno in the wrestling ring. I did not at all.
You already did a celebrity match a month prior,
right? Exactly.
And to go to doing another one a month later, it was just too soon.
Yeah.
So it was garbage. And this time, Page and Leno won. I think it was Leno pinning Bischoff.
Yeah, I don't remember who won that match.
In any event, that you could say that was nail number two.
It just keeps getting worse. It's like
snowball.
It's a snowball. Yeah.
Oh, the snowball's fixing to get worse.
Yeah. It's coming.
So now, July 20th on Nitro was Sting and Nash versus Hall and the Giant for the tag titles. Bret Hart came out during this match. Sting knocked him to the floor. While taunting Bret, it enabled Hall to pin Sting and bring back the tag titles to the black and white. Again, we can never get an honest... The caliber of guys you got in this business in WCW, we can never get a straight-up win or loss. It's just... It's dumbfounding to me.
There's always a bad ending.
Always. And it always ended with Sting coming out of the rafters and we go to, that's it, we're done. Well, by this point, it wasn't done anymore. So now, August 24th, we got a new member to NWO Hollywood, Stevie Ray. Yes, those are crickets in the background.
Yeah.
Stevie Ray, ladies and gentlemen. Because I believe by this point, Harlem Heat had broken up.
Yeah.
Which was a shame. But I know they wanted to push Booker T.
They wanted to push Booker, yeah. Which he deserved it.
Yeah, tremendously. He did. Absolutely. And I still wish to this day we could get one Harlem Heat match in WWE.
Yeah, I know, right?
Maybe if they ever are allowed to go back to Saudi Arabia, you never know. I know Booker T is slated to face somebody in Saudi.
Oh, is he?
I think it's going to be Triple H. It's all about that Saudi moment. Don't give me that look. He's actually looking for his side note. He's looking for his retirement match, by the way, and it may come in next year's WrestleMania against AJ Styles. Just telling you, he's looking to step away from the ring, and and quickly he was supposed to do it this year, but because his schedule was so packed, he didn't have time to get it ready. So this is why they did what they did with AJ. But in any event, I would love to see one Harlem Heat match in WWE. So Stevie Ray is a new member of NWO Hollywood. A few weeks prior, they lost the Disciple. If you remember now, this is where Warrior.
Yeah.
We had talked about that.
Yeah, we've covered
Disciple,
that in great detail.
Yes. I'm not going to go into it too much here. Disciple had joined Warrior in his OWN. and it's not the Oprah Winfrey.
No.
It's One Warrior Nation. Sorry, I had to do that.
Yeah.
I know, cheap joke. In any event, Hall and Nash's feud culminated at Halloween Havoc when Hall got into a count-out win against Nash. Honestly, those two fought better in WWE when they were Razor Ramon and Diesel.
Way better.
Exactly.
Well, that's when Hall was doing the whole. He was a drunk and
I didn't like that either.
I didn't care for it. No.
I don't understand why he agreed to it. Maybe he was on the outs with them, and this was to keep him around. I don't know. I just can't understand why he would want to do that.
Bischoff said he regrets doing that.
I would. And also I didn't like it when they did it to Jake Roberts in WWE with Jerry Lawler, and later on I didn't like because CM Punk had his misgivings about drugs and alcohol, how they used it with Chris Jericho, putting a bottle. I just stuff like that. I don't like.
And then Hawk.
Exactly, with the whole suicide thing.
I never care about it. It's too
we
close.
We talked about that in the Legion of Doom. It's too close to home with him.
Yeah.
Especially him.
Yeah.
In any event, on the same night, Hogan defeated Warrior. We talked about that. Because Horace Hogan interfered and joined NWO Hollywood.
Yep.
And Bret Hart had defeated Sting, putting him out of action for 6 months, which was also Sting's final Wolfpack appearance. He was not back on TV until March of '99. Yeah,
because he got hurt. He got injured.
So a lot of nails in the coffin from Halloween Havoc, because not only Hogan Warrior put another nail in their demise, but the ending of Halloween Havoc was weighed heavily when they thought they could go over the time allotted for the pay-per-view, and nobody live got to see Goldberg versus DDP.
Yeah, I think they said certain parts of the country got to see it. They said
maybe the West Coast.
Yeah.
Maybe. I don't know. I know mine got blocked off. I never got to see it. Me and my friend Mike were watching it, and then we were all pissed off.
I for some reason I can't remember. I can't remember if I saw it that night. I saw Halloween Havoc live. I don't remember if my feed got cut off or not. I was at a friend's house. I don't remember.
As soon as they locked up to start the match, my feed got cut off, and I was like, "What the hell?"
Yeah, I don't remember. I know Nitro. The next night they replayed it, right?
They aired the match, but by then the damage was done because millions had to be refunded.
That's embarrassing. That should never happen.
It really is. It really is. And again, that's what now 3-4 nails in that coffin just in 1998 alone.
Mm-hmm.
So now at World War III, NWO Hollywood attacked Scott Hall and kicked him out for disrespecting Hogan and Bischoff a few weeks earlier. So it was both of them. So now Scott Hall's on the outs. Again, dry erase board, man. Take Scott Hall off NWO Hollywood. He's out. So at that same event, Kevin Nash won the 60-man Battle Royal, earning him a title shot against Goldberg.
That's right.
Now, I thought this was going to be huge. These two guys in the ring, and this was only because now I think it was Kevin Nash was in charge behind the scenes.
There's conflicting reports about this because a lot of people say Nash was in charge, and then Nash says he wasn't in charge, and so nobody knows what the true story is.
Who else would have come up with this outcome?
There's no answer for that. Nobody wants to take.
So this is like that Hogan Flair WrestleMania thing.
Nobody wants to take credit for.
It's an urban myth legend. Nobody knows.
Nobody knows who was the one that decided. Okay, Kevin Nash is gonna beat him, and the way with the cattle prod.
Cattle prod. So this is like a fugazi. It's mythical, unfortunately.
Nobody wants to. I think that
I'll put it on Nash.
I think it was Nash. I just think that he wasn't. I think he wasn't officially the booker, but I think he was part of creative. I think that's what happened.
I think he obviously had control over his own character, and he wanted to be the one. And I believe I can't remember the documentary that it was on, but I remember him saying, "I want to be the one that breaks the streak." But doing it this way was not the way to do it.
But he said that too, though. He said that he said, "Oh, people weren't mad that I beat Goldberg. They were mad about the way that it happened."
Exactly. I'm not mad if the streak ends. The streak's got to come to an end.
No, it had to come to an end sooner or later, and not for nothing. Like Nash was really over at that point. Remember?
Yes,
he was second to Goldberg as far as top babyface. It was Nash. He was very over. So he could have beat him, but just the way that he beat him with the cattle prod, it was stupid.
It's cheesy.
It was terrible.
It was Scott Hall trying to get back into the good graces of his buddy. I get that. then do a run-in the week prior or something. But for it to end that way, everybody was just like, "You've got to be kidding me!" And this was one of the biggest blows of 1998 to WCW, and the next biggest mistake we'll get to in the next episode. But I mean, for it to happen like this, man, in any event, because we're jumping the gun here, because we're still at World War III and we've jumped right over to Starrcade.
Right, yeah.
On the Thanksgiving episode of The Tonight Show with Jay Leno, Hogan announced his retirement, if you remember that.
Yes. And he was running for president, right?
Yeah, him and Backlund.
Yeah.
Well, no, Backlund was a few years prior.
I remember him announcing his retirement. I remember that.
And Scott Steiner was to assume the leadership role of NWO Hollywood.
Yes, that's right.
When I saw that, I didn't watch it live because I was never a fan of The Tonight Show. Still aren't. I don't watch the talk shows. I think they're phony baloney bull. So when I saw this on Nitro, at first I wanted to believe it was a storyline because I'm like, wait a minute, all of a sudden he's retiring.
I know it was part of the storyline. No, I knew it was part of the storyline.
Yeah, it didn't make sense, and I'm like, he's got to be rusing somebody. This has got to be on somebody. So now on November 30th episode of Nitro, Dusty Rhodes was appointed special guest referee by Eric Bischoff for the Barry Windham Dean Malenko match. During in which he turned on Bischoff and quit the NWO. Again, I didn't know why he was in the NWO. Didn't care that he turned on him.
Right.
I mean, I say this mainly for if anybody's still got the list out there, and I'm sure one person is following this. They're like, okay, I still got Dusty over here. What do I do with him? Well, now you know the answer.
Yeah.
Just I guess a legend was in there, but it was not needed.
I know.
Because his wrestling career was over years prior to this, except for a match here and there.
And he was WCW, you know?
Definitely. He if anybody shouldn't have turned, it shouldn't have been.
Right. I don't know.
But in any event, December 28th episode of Nitro after Starrcade, Bischoff fought Flair. Savage surprisingly helped Flair and interference from the Giant. This was what was it? Oh, this was the one where Flair was going to be in control.
Yeah,
if you remember that.
Yeah.
Which didn't end well either. I mean, they did this prior with Piper, and now they're doing it with Flair because Flair was going to be Flair got the victory and was president for 90 days, and then Bischoff has to go back to commentator. We've seen this already.
Right, we've seen,
Which is why, if excuse my pause there for a second, because I thought I was reading last episode's thing, because they did this a year ago earlier, only it was with Piper, not Savage.
Mm-hmm.
So again, something dumb that they're doing.
And then Savage came back. The last time we saw him, he was NWO Wolfpack. Then he comes back with the black and white.
Yeah.
And
by this time, I think he's with Gorgeous George, and he's
Gorgeous George. Yeah, it was her debut. I believe that was her debut.
Yeah, with his
I like Gorgeous George. What up?
Oh yeah,
she was a good ballet. It worked. Yes. It worked. And
I like that he changed himself from that. Not the frizzy hair, and he looked buff. He had it tied up. He looked. He was in the best shape of his career. Yeah. He looked pretty good.
Yeah, no, I had no problem with it. I just didn't understand how he's black and white again, and they never even mentioned him being Wolfpack at all. Like It never happened.
Just like when Sting came back, there was really no mention of it either. But by the time Sting had gotten back, it was pretty much decimated, which we'll get to in the next episode. So that pretty much sums up 1998 for them.
Well, remember Nash comes out with the belt and he says, I want to give Bill Goldberg a rematch. I didn't like the way.
On that Nitro, yeah.
He deserves it next week. He said, next week I'll fight Bill Goldberg for the title.
And I'll get into what happened there.
And so this sums up 1998 and the Wolfpack, which I really like the Wolfpack. You said the same thing. We really enjoyed the Wolfpack. They had to do something different. Here's the shame of it though. It was supposed to be black and white versus Wolfpack, and we never really got that.
You never really got the matches.
You didn't. And according to Nash, which I actually believe him, I don't believe everything Nash says, but I do believe him. He said that the reason why you never saw it was because Wolfpack was so good on the mic, they would have buried Hogan and all of those guys. That they were too good and they were too over, that they would have crushed them on the mic.
So for that, you guys don't get in the ring together.
Yeah, because Hogan didn't want to do it. Hogan didn't want to do it.
Then what was the point of splitting them up and having them feud?
Because remember, WCW, Brett Bischoff and them, they don't think long term. They think very short term. Oh, we'll split them up. We'll make the Wolfpack. But then they don't think like, oh, well, we have to have a blow off.
His idea was probably, I'll split them up this way. I can get two big factions of the NWO,
and I can kind of ease the tension between
Hall and Nash and Hogan.
Nash and Hogan, yeah. So, you're gonna see next episode how this is the end.
Part 3 of our 4-part segment on the NWO. This next part will cover 1999 and the demise of 2000.
Yeah. So, you guys, let us know what you think about the NWO in '98. What do you think about the Wolfpack? Just like, comment, share, subscribe as usual, and we'll see you guys soon.
Take care, guys.